wear your best and we're going to go. All right, so I'm going to start by showing you a couple of different situations that I want to share here. And the first thing I want to go over is our template or our registration guide. Now, all of you should have received this, and this was something that we were going to be talking about as far as a guide for you to register for your courses and also giving you some information about the Institute. There's me. And we go through this, about curriculum planning with your major template and everything along those lines. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, and these registration guides are still available for your view. So when you have a moment, I would like you to review them if you haven't already. There's a lot of helpful information about the courses that you would choose, how to handle AP credit, everything that comes along with registering, and things you need to know for your first year. So the first thing I think would be helpful for us to start with is actually your template for mechanical engineering. So the template is basically your plan of study, and we use it very heavily in the hub because it lists all of your courses that are required for your graduation as a mechanical engineer. So it lays out each semester of what they recommend you take. However, if you have AP credits and things that go along with that, there's going to be a lot of variance within your template. So basically, we can start with the first semester, and I did cover this in the registration guide, that the fall semester of 2017, we discussed chemistry as being a required course, Introduction to Engineering Analysis, which is also known as IEA, Engineering Graphics and CAD, Calc 1, and the Haas Core Elective. Now, your Haas Core Elective is your Humanities, Arts, and Social Science courses. So those are generally, different categories such as psychology, economics, literature, all of the courses that you would almost relate to English and history and as such. So when we do our course planning, you can use this as a template and a guide, and we will navigate how to proceed in the event that you have AP credits and, stuff going forward along those lines. Okay. So moving forward, I'm going to show you a planning sheet that I did send out to your RPI email address last week that talks about situations specifically when you have AP credit. So for example, we have Chemistry 1100 here. If you have credit for Chemistry 1100, we advise you to take physics. Are you having feedback issues? I'm getting a lot over on my end. Hi. Okay. If you have credit for Physics 1100, we advise you to take Physics 2. But if you do that route, I want you to talk to me about it because I want to make sure that you that you know that Physics 2 is a pretty heavy course here at RPI. So in the event that we're registering for Physics 2, I want to have a discussion with you about that. So again, IEA here is another course that is required in that first template semester. And IEA, Intro to Engineering Analysis, if you don't have any experience in physics, I want you to perhaps postpone IEA till the spring semester and enroll in physics in its place. So simply going back to the template, can you mute your microphones if they're not already, please? Here's the template. In the event that you do not have any experience in physics, IEA can be replaced with Physics 2. Just swap the two out. I'm just going to hold on for 1 second, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to talk about actual course registration. There's a guide that we mentioned in the registration guides called YACS, and this is a great resource for you to plan your courses, okay? And basically, this is the screen that you would see with YACS, and we would find an area that we are going to pick. And since chemistry is on our template, I'm going to begin with that. So we go down to the School of Science, and we pick chemistry. Now, if we highlight chemistry in its course description block like this, and then hit schedule up in the right-hand corner, it's going to show you that you have 9 options for chemistry courses. And if you arrow through, it shows you on your screen what time slots chemistry actually happens. So if we continue on and we pick a math class like Calculus 1, and we do the same thing where we highlight the courses and put a schedule in, now we have chemistry and we have math, and I'm also going to put IEA in here as well. So now we have a lot of options. As you'll note up here, there's 770 options. And let's throw in CAD for just good reason, because we need that. That's engineering, graphics, and CAD. And you'll note here, this one is going to be prevented from added to your section just because it conflicts with other sections of courses that we're doing. So this tool is really handy because it weeds out the courses that conflict. So now we have a bunch of options here. So it maxes out at 1,000. So you might want to start weeding out some of the things, like say, for example, you're an athlete and you don't want to take classes that are after 4 o'clock because you have practice. Then you could go through and you could potentially eliminate those classes that are going to be conflicting with your schedule. What's up? Okay. Bear with me, guys. We're having some technical problems. Is there a way to minimize that? Okay. Okay. Oh, you're fine. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. So now, this is basically how you're going to navigate scheduling through YACS. So like I said, you do have a lot of options, and there's a specific number that's listed above each course, and these 8-3 numbers or 8-digit or 5-digit numbers that start with 8 are called your CRNs, and that's your course registration number. So when you find a schedule, and let's say, for example, this is the one that you want to use, you want to record each CRN for each of the courses, which are color-coded individual. So engineering analysis, 81005 would be your CRN, Calc 1, 83384, Chemistry 1100, 82012, and so on. So hopefully that makes sense, because we're going to need that moving forward. So that is going to be the tool that you're going to develop your schedule. Now, as far as registration is concerned, there's been a little bit of confusion because I received a few emails about it. Registration opens on the 24th of June, and that is actually going to be a 2-week window, and you are going to have a time slot within that window where your personal registration is going to open. The registration tickets for that are going to be sent to your RPI email address the week of the 17th. So you're going to want to look for an email from the registrar on your RPI, not your personal Gmail account or anything like that. Your official, they're sending it to your RPI account. So once you get your time ticket, which might be June 25th at 9 a.m., that means that your opportunity to register for your courses is open. And I would try and register as close to that time as possible because sections of different courses do fill up kind of quickly. So that would maximize your chances of getting into the sections that you want to get into. So moving on, what I want to talk about now is going to be, the actual process of registering. And we have a PowerPoint slide that shows you where SIS is. Now, most of you have probably already navigated SIS, but this is going to be a little overview. And then we're going to leave plenty of time for questions at the end, okay? So let's see here. Let's maximize the screen. So when you log into SIS, this is going to be what your login page looks like. And you're going to use your user ID and your PIN. And your user ID is usually your RIN, and your PIN begins with your birthday, but then they're going to prompt you to change that. So if you haven't done that already, that would be the next step. So once you're in SIS, you're going to go to your student menu. And that would be either right here, or you can also take the tab up at the top. And remember, we talked about YACS, and we were creating schedules off of YACS. So it's really helpful to actually have two open screens between YACS and SIS to kind of bounce back and forth when you're registering for classes. So if you're going to register for Calc 1, for example, like we reviewed, you're going to pick out a section that works for you, and then you're going to go back to SIS with the student menu. Okay. So now you're in student menu, and then you have all of these options. The first thing you're going to be doing before anything else is actually settling your financial responsibility agreement. That's going to prevent you from registering if you haven't done it. So when you click on that, it's basically asking you, are you going to pay your tuition bill? You say yes. You have to do it every semester. And then as soon as you've cleared that up, then we can go forward with registration. So on the SIS side, we also have an opportunity to research classes. So we often use the class search option along with YACS in order to register for classes. So when you click on class search, we're going to have to pick our term, which is going to be fall of 2019, because that's the semester we're registering for. Then it's going to bring you into a category. We're getting feedback. All right, so now we're in an advanced search category, okay? And again, we're going to be searching for classes, and this is our main menu. This scrolls down with every subject that you would potentially choose from. And we're going to choose math because we're going to be doing Calc 1, okay? So when you highlight the mathematics tab, and then you notice that Calc 1 is Math 1010. So we're going to type the course number right in the category here, okay? And then we're going to do, it defaults to Troy, so we're going to make sure that we keep that at Troy because that's where we're taking classes. And then you do a section search. And that's actually right down here, just so you can see that, okay? And then it brings up all of the sections of math. Hold on one second there. So now we're going to copy the CRN of the section that you potentially want. So the CRNs are these same numbers that appeared on your YACS screen, and we want to verify that there's actually seats in the section. So if you're looking here and there's a C, that means that that section's closed. But if there's a box that shows that it's open right there, that means that there are seats available and open to register for you. So you copy that CRN, Excuse me one second. And then we're going to go back to our student menu. And now you're going to register, add, drop in the student menu. And again, we're choosing the fall term of 2019. And now it brings you to this screen. Now this screen is interesting because it has a series of boxes. So what you're going to do is you can actually register for multiple classes all at once. So you would type in your CRNs into these boxes, okay? And then we submit our changes. And that's basically how your registration process is going to start. So we pasted our CRN for our Math 1010 course, and we're going to submit changes. And look at that. There we go. We're registered for Math 1010, and there's nothing further that you would need to do. There's no saving. You are in Math 1010. And if you want to add additional courses moving forward, they would appear on this menu as well. And in order to, once you're completing your registration, you can view what your schedule is actually going to look like. And this is where you would choose that option as your weekly view. And this is an example of what a student schedule would look like. It lists the name, the time, and the location of your course. Now, there's a few registration notes that we would actually make it easier. There's some classes that are required that you have to register simultaneously. And for mechanicals, you don't generally take biology, but in the instance that you were, say you have a fascination with it and you want to take it as a free elective, you have to register for biology 1010 along with its lab simultaneously, which is bio 1015. Now, physics is a class that you guys will be taking, and if you register for Physics 1 in the fall semester, you want to make sure that you also register for its mentoring section, which is Physics 1960. And I'm going to send you an email outlining that information just so you have it and you can remember to access that. But it's important because otherwise you're going to get a registration error, which will prevent you from registering for physics. The other thing that's really important to note is YACS, which is the menu that we were using to do our schedule planning, is not live. So even though YACS does offer a tally of seats available, it might not be accurate at the time that you're registering. SIS, however, the class search that we looked at with the menu is live. So it's always good to verify the courses that you're planning to register for through YACS after you develop them, or through SIS after you develop them on YACS. That way you can verify that you do have seats. And in the event that you don't, it's always good to have a couple of backup plans moving forward. Okay, so again, this is the registration process. And if you have any problems during registration, it's important to contact the registrar. And any issues that would come up could be that you locked yourself out of SIS, which has happened before. It happens to me from time to time. They can reset your password and get you back running. If you have a problem accessing SIS for whatever reason, if there's other holds on your account besides your financial agreement, all of those issues, the registrar is here to help you, and they're going to be quick and responsive quickly when you're during that registration window. Now, before we get into questions and answers, there's a couple of different things I want to highlight, and we'll go back to that. Back on your template, we had something called a Haas core elective. And that's something that a lot of students have questions about because it's actually going to be a course that you have to choose specifically for your personal interest, which gives you some flexibility. But I wanted to show you a couple of resources, and Val's going to post the inquiry pathway page as well for your reference. But the Haas department, again, Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, highly recommends that you take a Haas inquiry course in your first semester. So if it's at all possible to do that, I would like you to look into these. And basically, what this page will do is it lists all of the inquiry courses, and it gives you a course description of the class itself with its pathway. So actually, Val's going to post the course descriptions, but there's something in Haas called pathways where we have to take different choices within the Haas curriculum, and these outlines those. So I want you to think about taking an inquiry course in your first semester, look at them over and see if any of them interest you, because it is going to be a commitment on your part because it's a 3-class sequence. So if, for example, you're interested in artificial intelligence and logical thinking, you might want to take the Are Humans Rational associated course with that. We can get into Haas, and you can always email me with any Haas questions specifically, because it is a little bit complicated. But I think that it's definitely something that would, do a little research on your end before registration so you can take a class that actually interests you. Now, going back, I want to know if anybody has any questions. Specifically, I'm going to open up the chat. Okay. Okay. So hold on one second. How do I access that from here? Okay. Read off of them. Okay. So I have a question. Can we use AP credits to place out of our first Haas core elective? So I always want you to register for 16 credits at least. So I really do recommend that you take a Haas class in your first semester. And the reason for that is the fact that math and science and engineering courses can be quite rigorous, and it would be helpful to have that Haas course to kind of break up the rhythm a little bit. And as much as you can use your AP credits, and I highly recommend that we use them, I still want you to register for the full 16 credits. Because in the event that something happens during the semester where a course needs to be dropped, you have to stay above 12 credits in order to remain full-time. And if we only registered for 12 credits out the front door, then you wouldn't have the option to drop going further. So I hope that answers that. And if there's additional questions for that, please don't hesitate to ask. And if I didn't take AP Physics, but I took a New York Regions level of class, can I still do IEA? Yes, you can. Only you are going to know your capabilities with physics. And if you feel comfortable with the topic, then I highly recommend you taking IEA. But there are some students who don't feel quite as confident in their physics capabilities, and I just want to let them know that there is an option to move IEA around to offer that flexibility. But if you feel that you can tackle IEA and you have a foundation in physics, then by all means register for it. And also, that doesn't mean that that's the end all. If you're in class, there's a 2-week period at the start of the semester where we can add and drop courses depending and tweak your schedule a little bit. So if you come and tell me, I thought I could do IEA, but now I'm looking at the syllabus and this is addressing some issues that I have no knowledge of, maybe I want to skip out of IEA and resort to physics, we can do that, okay? So I don't want you to feel that anything is in stone at this point, because we can always modify things. The most important thing you can do on your end is communicate with me. Is there a link to SIS scheduling PowerPoint online? we're going to send that, and we are going to be sending out a follow-up email that's going to highlight some of the stuff. I know we had some technical issues during the webinar, so if there's anything that's missing, I'm going to be sure to include that in the email as well. What mathematics course is recommended to students who have AP credit for Calc 1 and Calc 2? So as far as that's concerned, obviously Calc 1 and Calc 2 are usually the courses that you would take in the first year as a freshman. We would just continue on the math sequence. You can take Intro to Diffie-Q, which is right down here, Math 2400, or you actually can take multivariable calculus. Either are fine. They're kind of interchangeable this early in the game, so if one course fits with your schedule when you're creating it better than the other, then absolutely resort to that. But I always recommend that you take a math class because we don't want to fall out of, the rhythm of math and come a semester later and just feel, a little out of practice. So let's see. When do AP and transfer credits have to be submitted by? Well, you should be contacting, it should happen right through your high school. In the event that it doesn't, if it happens later, this is not going to impede on you registering. If your scores aren't in 2, that also is the same category. If you think you're going to get a 4 or a 5 in Calc 1, I want you to register for Calc 2 if you feel confident with that, even if your scores aren't in or even if you haven't submitted them yet. In the event that you haven't submitted your scores and you're coming to campus, we can kind of backpedal with that and we can get them done if you come see me in the office. Where do we submit them? To the red? Okay, that's a good question. So where do you submit your AP credits? They go through admissions. So that's admissions@rpi.edu. If you have questions about that process, you can follow up with me about it because I'm actually not very familiar with the admissions process because it happens seamlessly, but we can definitely, make sure that your courses have been submitted. If IEA is moved to the spring semester, would I just switch that with physics or are there additional changes I would need to make? If you have not taken physics and you're swapping it, that's all you need to do. There really isn't any other change that you would need to make unless you have credit for physics 2 or physics 1. So, in the event that you have physics 1, we would move down the line. There's a couple of courses here. Most of your engineering courses require IEA. So the spring semester, if you take IEA, it doesn't hiccup anything because you're not really getting into the engineering courses until your sophomore year. Okay. What is IEA? IEA, we're going back right here. It's Engineering 1100. We use a lot of acronyms here at RPI, as you may have noticed. So almost all of our courses have acronyms and it'll become your second language. So don't even worry about it. And stop me because I am in the habit of using them quite frequently if you don't know what I'm talking about. So IEA is Introduction to Engineering Analysis, and it is the statics class also. That's something that a lot of students will refer it to, physics of engineering, and it's probably the first exposure that you're going to have to engineering here. And if you have any other questions, anybody else?
How would you recommend using AP credits for the Humanities and Social Sciences?
Okay. Just mute your mic. I heard your question. It was about how to use AP credits towards your humanities. Now, you are allowed to apply up to 8 credits towards your humanities. I'm just getting a little bit of feedback. Can everybody mute their microphone? Nicholas? Thank you. Okay. So you can use those, which will satisfy 2 out of the 5 Haas classes that you would require. And Basically, what that would mean is that I really want to emphasize that it's important to take an IHSS class in the first semester because that's going to start you on your Haas pathway. And the remaining 3 courses that you would take, if you plan to use those AP credits, would be a pathway. So I want you to do a little bit of research on pathways to see which ones are interesting to you to ensure that we're getting you into a category that you're comfortable with. Okay. Can we ask personal questions? Is that right? Absolutely. You can definitely email me if it's a personal question. We don't have to do it in the webinar. Val, will you post my email address for that? And basically going forward, any questions that you have from now up until registration and even after are totally fine. And I think there was another one. Yes, okay, so would getting a minor be easier if AP is transferred? Yes, absolutely. The more classes that you are transferring in frees up various places on this template. Even if it's a free elective, maybe it's a biology AP credit that obviously biology is not on your template here, that would populate as a free elective. So it does translate to one less course you would have to take here at RPI. You can transfer up to 32 credits, and that gives you a lot of wiggle room within each semester. So if you end up taking AP credit for Calc 1, you're going to be moving Calc 2 over into this category, which opens up another slot. So depending on what kind of minor you're planning to pursue, it does free up some spaces to take courses, and generally minors are 4 courses total. So if you have 12 credits in AP, that's going to give you a lot of wiggle room. And you can also use your free electives to apply towards a minor as well. Do we have any other questions? I really appreciate you guys coming on board this morning. Eric, I didn't see what he said. If you want to do applied mathematics and physics alongside. So as far as that's concerned, I know you and I have talked about that a little bit. Doing possibly a triple major, rock star. I don't think your first semester is going to look entirely different. You're going to want your physics course, you're going to want your math course, and I want you to take engineering analysis. So if you want to verify which courses you choose for the fall semester with me, Eric, you can totally do that, and we'll determine that you're on the right path. But I think both, as you had shown me all 3 curriculums, those courses are all going to have to be highlighted. So taking whatever sequence you're in at that moment of math, science, and physics, or physics and engineering, that should be sufficient for the first semester. How does a dual major work? Okay, well, a dual major is when you are taking the template of a mechanical engineering template, right? And then we take another template of another major that you're interested in pursuing and combining all of those credits. Sometimes a dual is not a significant amount of additional work, depending on the overlap of courses. But generally, if you're doing a dual within 2 different schools, for example, you're doing a mechanical engineering dual with a math dual, there might be not quite as much overlap, which might require additional semesters to complete. But a dual degree at the end, when you graduate, would list both majors on your diploma. So you would have a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and a Bachelor of Science in Math. So it would list both of those majors on your single diploma. And a lot of times, if it's not too much overlap and it's a lot of additional credits, I recommend that somebody pursue a bachelor's in one major and then perhaps do a master's degree in the second major, because you can walk away with a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, which is also very helpful. Okay, what else do we got? How do pathways relate to minors? That's a great question. the Haas is integrating these pathways, and it's a relatively new program. So pathways are very often 3 course sequences, and if they are in the same prefix, for example, if they're all psychology classes or if they're all writing classes, 3 of the courses would already, one more, usually a minor is 4 courses. So if you complete a 4th course, you would actually complete a minor as well as your pathway. So if you're interested in doing a minor in Haas, in those humanities, arts, and social sciences, I highly recommend that you come talk to me, because we can plan that out quite well to make sure that you're not doing any additional coursework, and we can choose the appropriate courses for a minor and a pathway. What physics course should I register for if I place out of physics 1100 and 1200? Would I take math or main 2710? Okay, no. The short answer is no. Good for you for placing out of physics 1 and physics 2. Your physics sequence kind of ends there. Thermo is actually a course that's an engineering class. It's thermodynamics. It is required that you take IEA. So I would actually, I want to see. So I would actually not jump into thermodynamics right away. In the event that you have both physics classes, do you have AP credit in chemistry? Because if you do, then I would actually take this class right here, Material Science for Engineers, because chemistry is the prerequisite for that course. So that's what I would enroll in as an alternate. I wouldn't go beyond that point. Does that make sense? Okay. What else do we got? Okay. Any other questions, guys? Okay. I am going to turn that off. Let's see. I'm going to turn off the recording, so I want to thank you guys, and I appreciate everything. All the questions were really good, and like I said, if you have any moving forward, I want you to follow up with me via email. Oh, do we have one more? Yes, please contact me, of course, Lauren, and I'm really, really grateful that you guys tuned in. I know it's early, so good for you for starting out well. All right, I'm going to sign off here, so thank you. All right.